Hello friends, today we are going to discuss a very important topic, that is states of matter. We know matter exists in three states. Every matter can be available in three states. For example, if you take water that we are drinking in liquid form, when it will be freezed, then it will be converted to ice. That is the solid form of water. Then when the same water will be heated, then it will be converted to steam, that is gas, that is vapor. So the same matter can be converted into three forms: solid state, liquid state, or gaseous state. Let us discuss what are the characteristics of matter in these three states and how they differ from one another on the basis of a particular characteristics. Let us discuss all the points. If you consider the properties shape and volume, of the matter, in case of solid, it has fixed shape and volume. Fixed shape and volume, that means shape and volume remaining same. It cannot be changed. But in liquid, the volume is fixed. That means that volume of liquid you have taken, it remains same. But if you change the container, if you change the vessel, then your shape of the liquid will be changed, but the volume remaining same. Suppose you have purchased petrol from the filling station. 1 liter of petrol you have brought in a bottle. When you transfer this 1 liter bottle to another container, then the volume remaining 1 liter, but the shape will be changed. That's why fixed volume, but shape is not fixed. But in case of gas, these two things, everything is changeable. That means shape will be changed and volume will be changed. Let us discuss some activities. This piece of chalk, it is solid form. This the matter that is chalk, it is in solid form. This piece of chalk, if you keep any place, if you change the place of this chalk, the volume and shape remaining same, will not be changed. If you displace it from one place to another, then the volume remaining same. You may keep it in different container, but the volume and shape of this chalk remains same. That is the very important characteristic of solid, that fixed shape and volume. It cannot be changed. Let us discuss about liquid. What? Volume is fixed, but shape is changeable. Let us discuss one activities. This is water in the conical flask. How much volume? 200 ml of water taken in the conical flask, and the volume is 200 ml. If you see the shape of water in the conical flask, it is conical shape. That is, conical shape means bottom is somewhat more flat and upper part is narrow compared to bottom. That's why it is a conical shape. So water shape in the conical flask is just take the shape of the conical flask, but volume is 200 ml. Let me transfer this water, 200 ml water, to beaker. Volume of water in the beaker is same 200 ml. Volume is 200 ml, but shape of the water in the beaker is just cylindrical shape of the beaker. It takes the shape of the beaker, and that is what cylindrical shape, and volume remaining same. That means when you transfer liquid to another container, the liquid volume remaining same, but shape is changeable. That is a very important characteristic of liquid, that what? Fixed volume 200 ml, 200 ml in both containers, but shape is different. So shape of the liquid, it takes the shape of the container. Then come to gas. If here I have taken beaker, that is 250 ml beaker. It is written 250 ml beaker, and it is also 250 ml what? Conical flask. Both have volume is same. That means it is invisible. What if that it looks no substance is kept in the two containers. But if you see, the beaker contains air and the conical flask also contain air. Air is also matter. So the volume of air in the beaker is 250 ml and the volume of what? Air in the conical flask also 250 ml, because this is the capacity. Volume is 250 ml conical flask and 250 ml beaker. So air in these two container, the volume is same, because 250 ml, 250 ml. But let us see the shape of air in the beaker. The shape of air in the beaker is, it takes the shape of the beaker. That means cylindrical shape. But same air also remaining here. Air is same, both side, both container contain air. But what is the volume of the air in this container? The volume is 250 ml. But what is the shape of the air in this container? Shape of this container, because it takes the shape of the container. That means what? Conical. So here shape is changed and volume, as volume here, as it is the same volume, volume remains same. But if you take a small volume, that means if you take that 150 smaller volume, if you take smaller volume, air content in this conical flask, here the volume is 150 ml. If you transfer this air to beaker, when you transfer the air to the beaker, then volume, now the volume of air in the beaker is 250 ml and shape is cylindrical. Here shape is what? Conical. So shape is changed and volume is changed. So it depends upon the what? The volume of the container and shape of the container. If the container volume is changed and shape is changed, then air, the volume and shape will be changed. That's why, what is the conclusion? No fixed shape and volume. It has no fixed shape and volume. That means changeable. So this is the first point regarding the properties of matter in solid state, liquid state and gas. Then second property is close packing. That means intermolecular distance. In case of solid, close, the particles are very closely packed. very closely packed particles are very closely packed, and a least intermolecular distance, IND, intermolecular distance is very least. But in case of liquid, they are loosely packed. That means there is a gap between the what? Liquid molecules. So low intermolecular distance. It is tightly packed. It is loosely packed. But in case of a gas, the particles maintain sufficient distance among themselves. That means very high intermolecular distance. The intermolecular distance is very high. First, let us you see here. It is made of this spheres. It is also made of spheres. If you see here, if you see the close packing between the spheres, the gap is very less. In this case, the gap is very less gap. Gap is very less between the spheres. But if you see here, here gap is larger gap. Larger gap. That means if you compare these two matter, here the particles are loosely attached. But here particles are closely packed. So that is called intermolecular distance. In case of solid, the intermolecular distance is very less. That means very closely packed. And in case of liquid, the intermolecular distance is just less than, that means more than solid, and that means loosely packed. But in case of gas, the particles are free. That means sufficient distance maintained between the gas molecules. Then third property is intermolecular attraction. Intermolecular attraction. For let us discuss one example. These are two solids. I have taken two solids. It is also made of solid particles. It is also made of solid particles. But if I try to break this pen, that pen, plastic pen made of plastic, it is very difficult to break. Very difficult to break. I am unable to break it. I am unable to break it. It is not broken because particles are very closely placed. Intermolecular attraction is more. We are discussing intermolecular attraction. The particles in this, particle means like this. These are the particles. These are the particles, spheres. The particles attraction is very more. That's why it is very difficult to break. But you see, this piece of chalk easily broken. That means the intermolecular attraction is low than the previous. That's why we have what discussed. Intermolecular attraction is very high in case of solid. In case of liquid is less than the solids. In case of gas is least because the particles are remain in sufficient distance far apart from each other. That's why what intermolecular attraction is least. Very, very low intermolecular attraction between the gas molecule. Then come to the density. Density means mass per unit volume. What is the meaning of density? Density means mass per unit volume. That means if volume is more, then density is less. If mass is more, keeping same volume, then density also more. If mass increases, density increases. If volume increases, density increases. Because m by v. So in case of solid, the density is very high. In case of liquid, density is less. In case of gas, density is least. Means very, very low density of the gas. When the substance is same substance is converted to solid state, liquid state and gaseous state, that density also changes. In case of solid, density will be very high. In case of liquid, density is low. In case of gas, density is less. But only exception is ice. Only exception is ice. What is the exception? When water will be converted to ice, density decreases. Although ice is the solid form of water, but the density of ice is less, because when it is converted to ice, there is a much more gap is maintained. Much more gap is maintained between the gas molecules. This gap increases. When gap increases, volume increases. When volume increases, then density decreases. This is exception. In all cases, when the matter in solid state has very high density, but exception is ice. When water is converted to ice, instead of increasing density decreases. So this is exception. Okay? Then compressibility. Compressibility means by applying pressure, whether the volume will be changed or not. If by applying pressure, if volume will change, that is called compressibility. Almost incompressible. Solid is almost incompressible. Suppose this is a piece of chalk. If I want to press it, but it is not, volume is not changing, same volume remaining. That means almost incompressible. Solid is almost incompressible because the particles are very closely packed, and on further pressure there will be no change in volume. But in case of liquid, at ordinary pressure, at room pressure, the atmospheric pressure, this liquid will be incompressible. It is also almost incompressible. Just remember, solid and liquid almost incompressible at atmospheric condition. At atmospheric condition, at room temperature condition, both solid and liquid almost incompressible. But in case of a gas, can easily compressed. We have also noticed we are using cycle pump for giving pressure in the cycle tube. That means when we are giving the pressure on the piston goes downward. That means the gas can be compressed easily. Due to the easily compression of the gas, so that gas can be easily evacuated from the container. That means highly compressible. Gas is highly compressible, but solid and liquid almost incompressible. Okay? Then last property is kinetic energy. What is the meaning of kinetic energy? Means motion. Particle motion. Motion of particles. Particle motion means in case of solid, particles are tightly fixed. That means kinetic energy is almost negligible. Very less, very low kinetic energy, because particles are very tightly fixed, very tightly bonded. That's why very, very low kinetic energy, that means almost negligible. But in terms of liquid, they can flow. It can flow. Already we know liquid can flow. Flow means it has kinetic energy. Flow means it has kinetic energy. Liquid molecule can flow because it has kinetic energy, but this kinetic energy, what? More than solid. Solid has a least. It has a low. Low means more than solid. But in case of a gas, the kinetic energy is maximum, very high kinetic energy, because we have seen wind blow. When wind blows, it is high speed wind, cyclone, tornado. That means it has high kinetic energy. Gas or vapors or air has high kinetic energy. It depends upon what? The speed. If high speed wind is blowing means high kinetic energy. So these are the very important characteristics of particles in the solid state. That means 3 states of matter, solid, liquid, gas, they are characteristic, they are comparison on the basis of 6 properties. Okay, thank you.